Yes, hello and welcome to the Phantom's Lair. It is your boy Dossy here. The Phantom, not on deck, as you may see if you're watching on the Code Sports YouTube channel. And neither is Cinco Nombres, also known as Five Names, Simeon Thomas Wilson, also away, leaving poor old Dossy solo in the studio. You may see a lonesome scene on the YouTube channel here, but never fear, because Dossy's here and we are going through the round that was round 22. And guys, we just witnessed the greatest round, the biggest round in SuperCoach AFL history. I mentioned last week, and I kind of butchered it last week, mind you, as well. Round 23, 2019. That is what I meant to say last week. Round 23, 2019, we had 5 people get over 3,000, and the highest score back then was 3,038. That was the score to beat, 3,038. This week, we had 3,144. Well done. Congratulations. That was the best score we've ever seen. So 3,144. It was by coach. Let me look this up. I got to get this right. I got to make sure we stamp this name in history. It is Adam. Adam is the coach, and his team name is the Tippetron. Thankfully, a team name we can use this week, guys. 60th overall, he's ranked, and a score of 3,144. And he wasn't the only coach to go over 3,100. So this was the biggest round we've seen in SuperCoach history. I've gone down and looked up some of the numbers as well, in addition to the numbers that we already had there. There was 5 coaches. 5 coaches scored 3,100 this week. Imagine, we said last week if you scored 3,000, you'd be stiff not to get the round prize. Scoring 3,100 and still finding out you weren't the top scorer of the round. Shout out to all those people. Again, if you do get top 10 for the round, you get a Swish voucher. So maybe some people can go request perhaps a Zach Butters maybe, or someone in their team to send out maybe an apology to them via the Swish app there. But there was also 95 people scored 3,000 plus, 95, 3,000 plus. So our previous winner overall record was 3,038. 95 people cracked 3K this week. We had 1,277 people score between 2,901 and 3,000. It was just one for the record books, one for the absolute record books. So a massive week. Unfortunately, I'm not top of the pod to brag about it. I was sitting pretty on Sunday. If you did listen, we did a little bit. Well, I did a little bit. Another solo. Dossy just carrying SuperCoach over here, boys, but and girls. But we had. I was flying on Sunday. Ended up tailing off in the end, but I did not get the dreaded score that we all know and love. That belongs to our great man on the wall here, Cinco Nombres. 5 names, 2,513. So people are cracking 3,100. Old Cinco Nombres couldn't quite crack 2,600 even this week. So his rank has plummeted. He's gone down 3,041 ranks, down at 11,154 for poor old 5 names. But shout out to him though. He did a fantastic job. If you haven't checked it out yet, go check out Buy, Hold, Sell from last week. Recorded live from Spain. Unbelievable from 5 names. And shout out to the person in the YouTube comments that said we should start calling him Cinco Nombres, because we certainly have been doing that, and he loved it on the chat. So inspired him to do Buy, Hold, Sell last week, and he did a fantastic job. Dossy in middle of the pod territory this week, 2,694. So as I said, tailed off. Was looking massive, unfortunately copped what many coaches did. The bullet. Sorry if that was a bit loud in your ears there. But the bullet of Connor Rozee on the Sunday. The laid out of nowhere, and a bit more on that when we get to what's the Goss with Doss, because some troubling news heard on a press conference and spread on the Twitter sphere that maybe the news was out a little bit earlier than we thought. Yeah, troubling for me there. Also had Zach Butters' bullet on the Sunday. I mean, Matt Carroll, I'm having to roll with Matt Carroll on field now, given Sam Doherty's sudden retirement. So, yeah, tough Sunday, but overall pretty good round. Can't complain. Dropped myself down in rank as well, down to 1,859. So I was really hoping to climb up into the three figures, but couldn't quite get there. Patch from breaking even with our Peyton, though, did climb into three figures. So I'm not looking forward to his smugness on the Wednesday show. Top of the pod, though. We need more sad music for top of the pod because unfortunately, you know what I'm going to say. It was the Phantom. And as much as I don't want to do it, I'm sure he's going to be keen to jump on and talk a bit about his score. So perhaps we jump on, perhaps we see if he can do what Five Names can't and actually pick up his phone. Let's have a suss if he can. Does he answer? This is just seeing if he really is the best bloke on the pod, as he claims to be, as does Five Names.
The person you are calling is not available.
Wow. Phantom promised to answer his phone. Promised to me. Did not answer. Didn't even have private number on, so he can't even say that he's rejected a private number call there. So Phantom misses his opportunity to brag on the podcast to kick it off, and solo Dossy continues for a little bit longer. So I'll have to call Five Names at the end of the show. Right now it's about 4 a.m, so I'll try and give him a little bit more time to breathe there. We'll give Phants one more call. Come on, Phants. Come on, Phants. Answer the phone, Phants. Let's give him some Telstra music. No.
The call has been forwarded to voicemail.
Unbelievable scenes from the Phants. Let's not forget this. Cinco Nombres has been saying all along that Phants wouldn't answer his phone, and we've just got on record twice in a row, live here in the studio. Phantom did not answer. So Dossy's going to have to pad for a little bit longer. We're going to go into heroes and villains for the week. My hero for the week, and who else could it be other than Grundy, two-hundy? You heard last week on the show, yours truly right here, said he was going to go 200. What did he do? I said 200 plus. Some people saying that 200 plus means 201 plus. 201 plus means 201 plus. 200 plus means 200 or more. So I'm taking that as a dubs. Let's go back and listen to the wise words of old Dossy last week. Brodie Grundy, 10% owned. 137 on the weekend. We've mentioned him many times. 150 in his last five, and this is the week. Poor old Todd Goldstein.
This is it, the double hundy. This is the first of the number of two double hundies. Poor old Toddy Goldstein. An absolute VC, Monty.
He will score 200 plus this weekend.
How big a double hundred is it?
I'm thinking 220 plus. Geordie Sweet had 200, a flat 200.
220.
This is a 220 begging. Poor old Toddy Goldstein.
You're trying to get one back in the quote card game, aren't you?
Yeah. This one's going up there. And I did get one back in the quote card game. Clocked a 200. Now, anyone out there that took a VC beforehand and had Grundy, shout out to you. That's tough. I had Max Gawn VC, 131. That was a big decision to make. I kept it on there. I was sure he was going to go 150 plus. When we had Laddams starting in the team as well and not named the sub, there was kind of a little bit less risk in my mind that he was going to be subbed out to rest. So, yeah, very happy with the 200. I think I set the line at about 150, so I would have been taking Bont's VC. Like, if you did that, it's probably the right decision to do. So 200, though, well done to anyone that went there. Very happy with that. I mean, with a massive round, there's some other names. Obviously, I just mentioned Bont, Gawn. We had a second 200 score in Tim English. So 202 he scored, if anyone. So the round winner had Tim English, Gawn, and Grundy. So, yeah, it was just a huge round. I had guys like Dawson going 149, Rao 134, McCluggage 157, some other scores out there that people would have been stoked with. I'm just looking up the top scorers here. Nick Blakey, I mean, that would have been a pod. Max Holmes, 154. Another huge score from him. Noah Anderson, who's surprisingly highly owned, 17% owned. He's gone 147 as well. Rowan Marshall, 144. So, again, just the biggest round we've seen. One thing that people would be calling a villain, which I'll get to my villain in a second, but some people may be calling Caleb Daniel bit of a villain because he came out, he was the second most traded out last week, and he came out and scored 142 for the round. So feel for people that traded him. I jumped off long ago, and to see Caleb going, 142 on the week, that's just the luck of the game sometimes. Very unfortunate. I know a lot of people jumped on Jeremy Cameron though, so I think in the next few weeks, Jeremy Cameron's going to deliver, especially this week against Essendon. Stay tuned for some of Dossy's top targs, but yeah, I think Jeremy Cameron's going to go big, so you'll probably be rewarded in due course. Villains for the week. Can't go past, Connor Rozee, definitely, without a doubt, a villain for many people. It made me have to take a terrible emergency score. I think it was an Angus Clark 39 who wasn't even taken out of the flex best 22 in the end. Unfortunately, had to bite that one. But yeah, Connor Rozee laid out, just didn't allow us to do anything. I know some people who had a trade up their sleeves benefited there. So if you did have the trade, some people pulled the trigger. I know Patch did again. Shout out to him. I think he went max home for a 150. So it was a big week if you did have that spare trade up your sleeve to move up a little bit in ranks and maybe win your league matchup as well. But yeah, not to be for me. But the other villain, Zach Butters, being blanketed for a second time this season against O'Shane Mullen. 45 points, tagged to shreds. And I think that's the second time he's had his number. I'm just looking back. 53 in round 10 for Zach Butters against O'Shane Mullen. So definitely got his number on the tag there. Hopefully we can get a bigger score from Zach Butters this week, but that was very disappointing. Definitely my villain for the week, along with Sam Flanders, who, let's just get out the pan now again. I just don't know what's happening with Sammy. Just the roll's not there. The Dimmer's not there. Like, Dimmer doesn't trust him or something. 47. I'm just, I jumped on a guy that was not in great form, but I thought he was going to turn it around. It looked like he had. So from rounds 15, Sammy Flanders, 91, 87, 76, 70, 115. Now, that's not blowing the world away, but it's not unfieldable, unrosterable scores even in draft. Last 2 weeks, 58 in a massive blowout, by the way, against Brisbane. So Brisbane's a tougher matchup, but 58 in a huge blowout. And then 47 against Richmond, both home games. So yeah, I'm going to need plenty more from Sammy Flanders on the run home. He's in my pan for the week. We'll get to people's pan in a little bit. What's the Goss with Doss? Catching up on all the news from the weekend. A new leader. So not only do we have a record-breaking round overall in SuperCoach, we didn't have a new change in leader in terms of rankings. I'll get to rankings in a second. But we had a new leader for SuperCoach total points this season. Grundy has overtaken Max Gawn as the number one for total points scored this season. Let's get out another one of these. Grundy, what a season. What a bounce-back season. Genuinely thought we may have seen the best of Grundy, but this is the best we've seen of Grundy. This run that he's had, and to top it all off with a 200 on the weekend, is unbelievable. The run he's going on. Most expensive player in SuperCoach, most total points now. And he's only second behind Bont for average points as well this season. And he's only just behind, so there's still time to take that mantle as well. 127.7 on the season now. Bont at 128.9. So Grundy, the best SuperCoach player on planet Earth at the moment. Obviously, him and Bont just vying for that average total point. He's got the total points, I think, in the bag just about. Max Gawn and him are going to be fighting over the last few weeks to see who does hold that title. But yeah, incredible season from Grundy. Shout out. Another bit of news from the weekend, and I've touched on it a couple of times, was the Connor Rozee late out. We found out on Sunday, absolutely shocking scenes for many coaches, just scrambling. A lot of us couldn't do anything with zero trades. And also, I don't know about you guys, but my emergencies were locked in. I also did this silly thing in flex where I'd had my player, Sammy Flanders, shout out again, in my flex position. It's always good to know, I guess, to leave that open, leave that player for a player later in the round that you can still move around if you need to. The player that I would have brought on would have been like a Manny Liddy or something. So it wouldn't have saved the world for me, but it would have just been a little bit of nice knowing I could have switched something around in my team. But we had some news I saw on the Twitter sphere this morning. Channel 7 had, it was the interview post-game, probably was on Fox as well, but Channel 7 post-game had the interview with Ken, and this was revealed in the interview.
When did you know about Connor?
Yesterday, when he couldn't make the plane. He was crook and really crook,
So they knew about it the day before. We had, I think the reason I saw this was Selby, the GOAT, Milera's Magic, had said on the post. So we found out the day after about this, but we had Jack Ginnivan being accosted at the airport. So nice little barb there. But yeah, we could have known about it a bit earlier, and that would have been amazing. So usually, I'm sure Five Names, Cinco Nombres would have been breaking that if he wasn't on holidays. So hopefully next time he can be around for that. Jack Steele was the sub, which huge call from Ross Lyon. I checked his ownership; is very minuscule. But anyone with him as a unique as well would have had him as the sub. I don't even see what he scored in the end. I presume it wouldn't have been great for Jack Steele. But yeah, the captain of your club as the sub. So interesting to see where that goes and where that leaves him. Will Day, latest for him, was out for the season. So do we go there next year as well? Yeah, it's really devastating for him, for his finals, for Hawks. Like, he's a great player. He's so fun to watch. And yeah, not many teams. A lot of us started with him. Still 4% owned. I mean, some people might have brought him in the other week, but he's just had one of those seasons. How many games total? Let's look. 6 games total for the season in the end for Will Day. His average ends the average at 99. So again, I think he'll get a little bit of a discount surely on that, but it's going to be another awkward price for Will Day. And given his injury history, I'm sure that he won't be as highly owned as he has been possibly to start this year, given that we've just the injury history now is piling up, missing a lot of games. Another player that's going to be out as well, not highly owned, but Hayden Young. Some people brought him in last week. He's not out. He's sent for scans this morning. So another year of injury for him, though. 2 guys that just have such huge SuperCoach potential. And again, they're going to be both on my radar next year. But Hayden Young sent for scans. Disappointing to see him subbed out. And yeah, I'm pretty sure some people would have taken maybe their last trade or just taken a shot at him last week. Yeah, he went from 0.2% owned to 1.3%. So definitely some people bringing him in last week at his what appeared to be bargain value, and he lasted 10 minutes and scored 12 points against Carlton before being subbed out with a groin injury. Scans this morning. I'm sure Footy Rhino over in WA will have all that covered. Okay, getting on to the next thing, which is 3 rounds left. So if you're not aware, we're all really on the run home. And again, even sadder that Dossy's been left solo for the home stretch here. Sad times, but I think it's just important to remember, if you got to win your do or die final, because they are all do or die now, unless you're straight through to the prelim every week here, elimination finals in your leagues and, 3 weeks left to vie for overall rank. If you see an opportunity, if you see something where you're going to jump ranks and you randomly still have your trades, just use them. Just use those trades if you need to. If you need to pull the trigger, if somebody's either letting you down form-wise, probably if you've held it this long, maybe wait for an injury and pull the trigger in the last couple of weeks. But yeah, look, three rounds left. Let's go for it. And the race for 50K is heating up. So a bit of a rankings update. The number 1 leader, Jordan Hock Baby, still number 1. And it is tight still. It is really tight to end this year. So I feel like from memory last year, we had a leader with, 10, 12 rounds left that sort of lost the lead. But then once we had the new leader, Jovan, I think he held it for a few weeks to end the season. There wasn't any leapfrogging late. This year, 51 points separating first and second. So there is still time for movement. Now, Hock Baby's been up there for a long time. Be stiff to lose from here, but there's just not much margin for error here. Don't know what the situation is for trades. Who's got trades in the top 10, whatever. I mean, we heard the other week someone in the top 1,000 had 10 trades and 3 boosts. So still could be someone really coming home strong. But 51 points between them, then it's 116 points from first down to third. So still, in the running for 50K there as well, which we rarely see. Usually it's kind of a couple at the top. Then only 221 down to 4th and 245 to 5th. So really, still really tight. And we are seeing some massive captaincy scores that could have huge swings down the stretch. So exciting run home now for everyone in those top rankings. Time for Dossy's top targets. Forget Phants, we don't need him this week. You got Dossy, he's got you covered. Maxi Holmes, number 1. Essendon, Sydney, Richmond in his last 3 games. Should storm home for a monster finish. He's a guy I would love to own. The only issue we've got with Geelong is if they rest anyone. Now, we've already heard Dangerfield being rested for Essendon this week. Look, no offense to Dange, he's in fossil territory these days. He's a SuperCoach superstar of the past. He's in that Foss territory. Holmesy, not there. Not there yet in Foss territory. They're in superstardom, though. So Maxi Holmes, I think we can comfortably bring him in. Look, he's going to be in the captaincy talk this week as well against Essendon, who are struggling at the moment. Nazai Wanganeen-Milera, I have to have him as my second top target. I'm ignoring money at this time of the year. I'm ignoring everything. If you've got a trade, get him in. Richmond, Essendon, and GWS in his last 3. That contract could still yet get another couple of zeros on the end of it. Jordan Dawson, West Coast, Collingwood, and North in his final 3. The only risk with Dawson that I see here is an in-game rest. So there's no way he's not going to play any of these last 3, but an in-game rest forward if against North or West Coast they're just smoking him. He could just sit forward, and particularly the last 10, 15 minutes of the game, they're probably just going to sit him on the bench as well if it is a blowout. I think he could go absolutely ham, though, here. Even against the Pies, who he has a great record against. So 150, 107, and 132 in his last 3 games against the Pies. And I remember he probably should have had a chance to win the game, which would have pushed him probably over the 200 in one of those games as well in the last couple of years. So Jordan Dawson, number 3. Tristan Sherry, congratulations if you held. I'm a bit annoyed that Phantom is one of those people that did hold. GWS this week, who Tim English just scored 202 on. So Sherry, fresh after a few weeks off. He's got GWS, Richmond, another nice matchup. Adelaide to finish. Not the greatest matchup there. Rob, a tough one to play against. But that is grand final week. So I'd say it's more of an overall rank push. Next 2 weeks go for the big one. If you're sort of comfortably through the prelim, you're comfortable that you're going to get there. Sherry could be maybe a guy you avoid, but for the grand final week, But yeah, still a great option. Be interesting to see how much he rewards owners who have held. Jeremy Cameron rounds out the top 5. He could be higher, especially at 511k. I think he's the best bargain buy that you can get here. They're going to absolutely try and feed him to get him closer to the 100 goal milestone. Again, the only risk would be a rest, but I think with that milestone in touch, they're not going to do that to Jezza. You could expect him to kick a bag, especially, this week against Essendon. We've mentioned the fixture for them. They've got Richmond in the final round as well. Could be another huge score. But again, I have him at 5th because I think teams are still going to really try that out. Like, they know that they're going for this and they're not going to want to be the ones to give him up another 10 or 12 goal effort, whatever it is. So yeah, Jez is still number 5. I think he's, especially this week, could be a monster ceiling if you do go there. 511k, bargain buy. Special mentions here, Brodie Grundy, just, if you've randomly got near 800k, sure, go there. I'm not going to bet against the guy now. I've had him in my team for weeks. It is a lovely feeling. He's a captaincy option every single week. And then if you need a downgrade option, Jai Farah, out of nowhere, scored 120 on the weekend after backing up an 80. Look, I don't even know, I haven't seen a stack of Suns over the last couple of weeks, I'm not going to lie, but 11 disposals. He managed to get 120 off 11 disposals. So 11, 6, and 6. He got 2 goals, 119k. He's a good option just as a complete downgrade option, so long as he holds his spot in the side, and I think he will based on recent form. Time for the People's Pan. Not forgetting the People's Pan segment, a favourite of the people. Did the tweet this morning. Now we've got a few nominations, and I'm not surprised by some of the people heading in the pan this week. Gibbo, in the pan. Port Adelaide Fitness Department and coaches for hiding Rosee's weak immune system. That's tough. We also had I had Dan Batten in our group chat this morning saying he could play with a broken hand but not with the sniffles. So shout out to Dan Batten for that one. There was I saw some Twitter rumors floating around about Rozee. I had a couple of DMs myself asking, do you know anything about this? Poor old Dossy was left in the lurch as well. Had no idea, but yeah, sometimes those Twitter rumours randomly do come through with the goods at times. Rob, big sizzling pan for that Freo Nuffy Hayden Young. Calling him a Nuffy. Getting out the Nuff alarm for poor Hayden Young. Traded him in this week and scores 11 and injured before quarter time. Supercoach sucks. Oh, come on, Rob. That's a bit tough on old Supercoach. But yeah, that's certainly rough and worthy of a pan. Have to go with clangers in general, says Lordy 1912. They greatly affected Sarong, Brayshaw, and Nazire. Wanganeen-Milera scores. Now, Naz still tonned up, but yeah, some of those clangers do definitely hurt in terms of the ceiling. And yeah, Sarong was a tough watch as well, but yep, can't disagree with that. Clangers in general being in the pan. Let's go with that. Another one. Timmy says, poor old Dossy, as he would say. We appreciate you. Oh, thank you, Timmy. It's been a tough run. I'm not going to lie. Geez, I've gone for a fair while here, solo. But yeah, appreciate it, Timmy. Do appreciate that. Now, Jack, surely Hayden Young injuries in the pan. Yep. Another couple of people just shouting me out. Thank you. Won't be the same without you, Doss. Well, I'm here, so it's all good. And Hawkeye, be funnier if you were bottom of the pod. Well, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that is true. Going to get to VC and C, then hopefully give one more buzz to either Phantom or Sim to help me out over here, guys. But captaincy, vice captaincy this week. Breaking with Al Payton usually does a much more deep dive later in the week on the Wednesday show. Keep an eye out for that one. But VC loophole, I'm going to look at a couple of guys I don't own, unfortunately, too. But Max Holmes, number one. I mentioned him. He's up against Essendon this weekend. Like, he looked just ridiculous last week, 154. I think I like the early game, obviously, for the VC loophole. So, classic Essendon in another beautiful Friday night fixture up against Geelong. That'll be great to watch. So, I mean, yeah, that's another topic. But yeah, Max Holmes, number one on the VC list there. Then we go to Saturday. It's the first game on Saturday. Nazire Wanganeen-Milera. I couldn't go past him either. Another guy I don't own, but someone that he should go massive against Richmond again. The guy's just unstoppable. And I said it the other week. I think he's on par with Bont and Butters and guys that we can just almost just guarantee like 120. I'm going to say just 115 to start with, but like 115 to 120 just every year from now, forevermore into the history, into the future. We are going with Naz because yeah, he's a freak. Wherever he ends up, hopefully for Saints fans, as a West Coast fan that's hoping Harley stays as well. Look, I feel for you. Hopefully he sticks around, but if not, he can come to beautiful old Adelaide and he'll be closer to home. So I'll be picking him, I think, most years despite the price tag. Nick Dacos at number 3. Can't forget about the little goat as well. So he's got an early game. He's got the first game, the Thursday night. Yeah, I mean, his bane, Finn McGuinness, isn't playing, so he's out for the season as well. So we don't have to worry about him. But yeah, Nick Dacos for me, another great VC option, and I think plenty will be locking him away. Now, talking about the captaincy options, later game guys here. So again, you can sort of VC and C based on who you've got in your team and who you've got to play later on in the round. But Bontempelli, number one, in incredible form at the moment, up against Melbourne on the Sunday. Really like that as a captaincy option. He has not been letting us down lately. He's been a VCC every week in recent memory. So I know he had one blip on the radar, but other than that, it's just vintage Bont at the moment. As I said, he's averaging the most points in Supercoach at the moment, just ahead of Brodie Grundy. Tristan Sherry comes in at number 2. Just based on the rest, I think the big fella will be angry to get a bit of revenge this week, and he's up against a guy that just got a 200 dropped on his head in Kieran Briggs, who I don't know what's going on this year, but that doesn't seem to be 100% Briggsy. So, yep, happy to roll with Tristan Sherry. If you did hold him, he's got a later game in the round. He's got the first game on the Sunday. I think you'd be pretty happy if your VC fails to be going with the Tristan Sherry. And then number 3, I have Jordan Dawson up against West Coast. Last game of the round, always a risky one to chuck the C on, but I think I'd be happy waiting for Jordan Dawson. It is at Optus Stadium, but Dawson's in some fine form, fresh off a near 150 on the weekend and up against West Coast, who, unfortunately, my beloved Weagles, struggling this year. It's been tough. Phants didn't answer, but let's see if Five Names does. Well, I think it's about 5:40 a.m. over there. So he might be calling HR after this, but let's give Simeon Thomas Wilson Cinco Nombres a little call and see if he can do us the honour of answering poor old solo Dossy.
Hi, this is Simeon Thomas Wilson.
No. He's on Do Not Disturb. And I don't blame him as he was this week, as we all know. Let's not forget, Simeon was King of Bop. So I don't blame him for putting me on Do Not Disturb, but let's give Phants one more buzz and then let's end this solo Dossy stream. One final try. Phantoms. Calling the Phantom. Will he answer? Will the Phantom answer the call on the Phantom's lair? His own lair?
The person you are calling.
No response from the Phantom to finish off, and it does confirm my thoughts. Dossy, best bloke on the pod. Comes to work, delivers for the people. Thanks for sticking around if you made it this far. Apologies for doing a full solo pod. Apologies for it going so long. Had to be there for the people. Had to deliver an episode of the Phantom's Lair with no Phantom, no Five Names, no one answering my calls. Guys, next week will be a lot better. Phantom will be back. Hopefully we can get Five Names on the buzzer. Cinco Nombres for his first answer of the season as well. Good luck in round 22 and all the best in the rest of your SuperCoach season. That was the biggest round we've seen in the history of SuperCoach. I'll see you next week.